All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? In the video I'm bringing you today, we are going to go over this forum post that I saw today. It was the Update 28 Combat Preview and Developer Update. Now, I have not read any of this yet, so I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to give you just kind of my initial thoughts the first time I read it. I always think these things are kind of fun, like to get the initial reaction. So if I mess something up, let me know. But yeah, let's dive into it and let's go through everything that Brian Wheeler has to say. So today, we'd like to present to you what the combat team has been focused on for Update 28. As always, please be aware these are just the current proposed adjustments and are subject to change during the upcoming PTS cycle. On top of a substantial amount of new item sets coming with this patch, the team has been focused on making the major minor system more performant, as well as some adjustments to frost staff and critical calculations. They talked about how they're going to adjust crit during the PTS this last time. First off, let's talk about the major and minor system. Originally, buffs and debuffs were designed as standard abilities, meaning they had to go through the same calculations as all abilities. As we have been moving towards making combat more performant, we identified this as a key area where we could get better performance due to how prevalent buffs and debuffs are in battles. As such, we're shifting the buffs debuff system so they are calculated on the server much in the same way as sprint and block. With major and minor effects no longer being standard abilities, they will be more performant per calculation as they won't go through the same process as other abilities do in a fight. This hard coding of major and minors will also make them less prone to incorrect stacking and mismatch values. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's pretty self-explanatory. During this change, we also adjusted buffs and debuffs to bring them more in line with our standards for item sets and abilities. This is also combined with the overall goals to increase sustain, decrease damage done, and increase damage taken. Players with builds that aren't 100% optimized will see an increase in power, while players utilizing all major and minors at once in coordinated efforts will see a decrease in power. Okay. For frost staff changes, we looked at the prior goals where Magicka users could tank in PvE and PvP scenarios. We found that many of the tools provided by frost staff abilities either did not hold up to other tanking abilities or directly conflicted with other destruction staff abilities and created some pain points in dungeons. This in turn led us down the path to give the frost staff greater viability for doing things other than tanking. The end result was a focus on two changes: give frost staff users more flexibility to fill the role of a tank, and also give frost staff users the opportunity to be better fill the roles of support or DPS. Okay. A good example of this is the following upcoming adjustment to Wall of Frost, Flame and Shock. Lowering the damage done by Wall of Frost compared to the Wall of Flame and Shock, removing the snare from Wall of Frost. Okay. I'm okay with that. Casting Wall of Frost will create a damage shield on you and up to 5 other nearby group members that absorbs projectiles. Wow. Okay. It depends on how big the damage shield is, but okay. That's some support for a frost staff ability. Unstable Wall of Frost will apply a weaker version of the damage shield when the ability ends. Okay, well, let's see what the damage shield is. I mean, that's all what it's going to depend on. Like, this could be stupid OP or this could be nothing. Like, it just all depends on that number. In terms of reducing the pain points of frost staff users in the groups, we'll be removing the auto taunt from Trifocus. The taunt from Frost Staff will instead reside in Frost Clench and will taunt the enemy for 15 seconds. We believe these changes, along with several others in the destruction skill line, will help bring some parity between the 3 damage options for staff users and give greater flexibility to that weapon choice. Interesting. Definitely interesting. Nothing to really comment on yet. When it comes to critical damage, critical chance, and critical resist, we've started to get a tighter grip on these bonuses in our efficiency standards and have begun sourcing more of them in the game to counter each other. While this naturally balances itself in PvP scenarios, that is not the case in PvE situations. This already powerful stat is slowly creeping up in power with each update and global increase in damage. Agreed. The main cause of this imbalance is the ease of access to gain critical chance in our game. We have a large amount of passive crit enabled from passive abilities: armor, champion points, base chance. On top of this, the raw standard of crit chance is higher than other DPS stats, which results in stacking crit being incredibly powerful. Due to this, certain classes scale more effectively in group content, resulting in just stack X in our endgame meta. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't do a ton of endgame trials or anything like that, but as you guys know, like once a meta is established, everybody just, you get At one point, it was all stamina necromancers, you know, because stacking stamina necromancer was the best way to go. And that was over a year ago now, but yeah, like more often than not, it's just stacking specific classes that dish out the most amount of damage. Having the occasional one class for a specific buff that you don't get anywhere else also. While this is somewhat mitigated in PvP with critical resistance, we still hear a large number of complaints about the line certain classes teeter on in terms of balance and PvE as a result. Either too strong or we nerf them and they become too weak in other areas. Absolutely. We've talked a lot on this channel about PvP versus PvP changes and how, you know, it's not easy. You know, they're two completely different games. They have two completely different balancing systems. And when you make one adjustment on one side, the other side sometimes suffers. And so it gets really problematic when you're making adjustments in the game for an entire thing because it's honestly, it's impossible sometimes. You know, that's why you use something like Battle Spirit and you amend some things in Battle Spirit so that, you know, it doesn't impact in one area nearly as badly. As such, we've created a new combined stat for critical chance, which is a combination of spell and weapon crit. Okay. This means if you see an item that grants 106 critical chance, it's giving both spell and weapon crit. With this change, we are adjusting many sources of critical chance so they grant the new stat. This also results in fewer effects you need to track on your character. We're making several other adjustments to individual stat faucets, such as reducing the amount of critical chance you can get from champion points and lowering the value of the Thief Mundus and Precise Straight. We know this is only a small step in the larger picture of combat regarding criticals, which we plan to continue in Update 29. We believe these changes will bring about better experiences from the moment-to-moment combat to formulating your groups for trials and PvP. Lastly, as a little bonus not mentioned in the beginning of this post, let's talk about Battleground queues. Okay. Over the past several updates, we've been running a test where the only available queue is a solo queue. While we have seen Battleground participation fluctuate from update to update, we have not seen a considerable change in overall population. We also have heard you loud and clear that playing with your friends in a Battleground is sorely missed, and we are going to test reintroducing the group queue with update 28. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, ignore that last part that I said.
Hold up. Hey.
Over the past several updates, we've been running a test where the only available queue is a solo queue. While we have been seeing in Battleground participation fluctuate from update to update, we have not seen a considerable change in overall population. All right. There is a big reason why this is right now. And it's, you know, I don't care. I don't care if you're an Overland PvEer. I don't care if you're a quester. I don't care if you do PvP solo in a group. Like if you do trials, it doesn't matter who you are as a player. The most neglected balance or update thing in the entire game is no CP PvP. It's the most neglected out of anything. If there's balance changes that come into play, it's typically for CP. And that's because on Xbox and PS4, those are the big campaigns. And even on PC, like when I play on PC, the CP campaign is pop lock more often than not. Yes, PC does have a no CP population, but when you look at a lot of the changes aren't for no CP. And so when you do things like introduce malacath that buffs proc sets by a crazy amount of damage, and then you buff proc sets, and then you reduce healing, everybody and their mom and their mom's mom is going to go when they do no CP and they're going to run a metric fuck ton of proc sets. And as you guys know, if you guys watch my channel, you know, I do stream, and for a while I was streaming Battlegrounds. You know, I enjoyed Battlegrounds. I enjoyed Battlegrounds for the first 3 to 4 months of me streaming ESO. It was a nice change of pace. I would hop on, you know, people would hop on, we'd play with or against each other. It was a good time. I didn't have to worry about a format like getting steamrolled by a 3 or 4 man group, because honestly, like, if you coordinate well in a 4-man group, you can build a bunch of tank builds and just basically 4v1 people in no CP. And it gets really annoying because sometimes you get these fights where the winning team, like, you'd go the entire duration of deathmatch and the winning team would have like 350 points. They'd have 35 kills and they won, but that's because everybody was so tanky that nobody died, you know, because people would just build that way. They'd have a healer with 3 tank builds and they would just focus people, and it was stupid. But a lot of people were playing BGs at that point. Then they incorporated all these stupid proc sets, and I haven't been in BG since. I have a lot of buddies that they would hop on, and, instead of going open world PvP to get Zerg down, they'd hop into Battlegrounds too. They haven't hopped into Battlegrounds. A lot of my friends quit playing. Actually, they've quit playing because Battlegrounds is so disgusting right now with proc sets. Open world, it's so laggy. You can't CC break. You can't do anything. Imperial City's hit or miss as far as the combat you get. Like, there's just no combat when they hop on, so it's like, why keep hopping on? That's just their point of view. And I agree with them. So when we talk about the fluctuation in population from update to update, we have to take into account the balance disparity that currently exists in no CP. And the reason, I think one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people aren't playing no CP Battlegrounds right now is because it's really annoying to have somebody light attack poison inject you and have sheer venom and venomous smite proc. It's really annoying. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable to have somebody cast one global cooldown and all of a sudden you're hit with 3 different abilities and you're having a hard time, just surviving. So I just want to mention that, like understanding the fluctuating population. Yes, yes, this is important, but also understanding that right now in Greymoor and in Harrows, in this patch and Stonethorn, it's been really bad. It's been really, really bad as far as balance goes. It's just he who procs first wins, and it's annoying. So that's why you're seeing a lower population. That's why it's fluctuating. So an adjustment to that would bring more people back to the game, and it would bring more people back to no CP Battlegrounds, myself included. Now, I'm just one person, guys. I'm just telling you my experience. I'm telling you my friend's experience. It's only like, I don't have many friends, guys. Okay. I'm doing YouTube videos. I don't have many friends. No, obviously, I can only speak from my personal experience. If you guys have a different experience, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear your point of view as well. But yeah, that's just what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from, my friends and, people I talk to in the Discord and everything. So yeah. Now let's get in the next paragraph. We've also heard loud and clear that playing with your friends in a battleground is sorely missed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we are going to test reintroducing the group queue with update 28. This means there will still be a solo option where you only fight players who queued as solo. And we'll also be adding in a group queue option. However, the group queue option has a twist. You don't have to be in a group to queue for it. Interesting. You can be solo, duo, trio, or have a full group of 4 and join the group queue. When you do, be aware that you'll be at the mercy of other players joining as pre-made groups as well. Due to this change in our Battlegrounds queue options, we will be limiting the queue choices to just these 2. You'll also no longer be able to choose a game type. This is to reduce the risk of further splintering. Makes sense. The queue on top of the group or solo options. Okay, a lot to unpack here. I like most of this, okay? As a guy that likes solo BGs, because obviously I'm in the minority, guys. I accept that, but it is nice hopping into BGs and not getting steamrolled by a 4-man group. I think we can all agree that it's not fun running across a 4-man pre-made group and just having them tank DPS you down. But like I said, I thought it made sense if they did a group queue, and that's what they're doing. So now it's the best of both worlds. Like you have a solo queue, you have a group queue. So if you only want to play solo, you can play solo games. If you want to play in a group, you can play in a group. If I want to play with one of my buddies, hopefully I can convince them to come back to the game and we want to go play in a 2-man group versus some of these 4-mans, we can do it. That's awesome. I think that's a great choice. I think this makes everybody overall happy. However, once again, I'm going, I would make one adjustment. Okay. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this as well. I think a lot of the flag games aren't set up very well. I think a lot of the flag games, like King of the Hill or Domination could use one less flag. You got 3 teams running around, you have 4 flags. It behooves you to run around from each flag instead of fighting on each one. Like if you had 2 or 3 flags for Domination with 3 teams, it would make it so much better because you'd have just nonstop conflict. People would be fighting over flags instead of just going, okay, shit, I got to run to the next flag. Because if you guys have played Domination, the way it currently is set up, if you stop to fight somebody, you're losing because the other teams are just running around taking flags. And so you don't fight people, you run around and you take flags. And so it's a very boring way the combat is currently set up for that specific game. And so there are a few other ones, in my opinion, that are like that. And I agree with this. The splintering of the queue system, I completely agree that if you're going to do this, it makes a lot of sense. I would either amend, the next thing I would do is I would amend some of the games and make them a little bit more fun, or I would eliminate them entirely. And I know there's going to be a few guys out there like, what are you talking about? Like, some of these games are a lot of fun. How else am I going to get 50 kills? You know, I get that, guys. Like, I totally understand. But some of the games just aren't, you know, they could use some TLC. You know, they could use a little bit of tender love and care. They could get adjusted a little bit so that, because right now, like, I only want to play deathmatch personally. You know, I only want to play deathmatch, and I'm okay hopping into a few other games. You know, like Capture the Flag can be fun. Chaos Ball can be fun. Those games can be fun, but I hate Domination. Domination is just not a very good game type. You know, you just like, okay, well, I got 10 minutes of running around taking stuff, and I can't quit out of it because then I get put on a timer and I can't just hop into the next game. So I would say that this is a great option. Obviously, you know, what I'm saying is more work. They're already talking about doing a lot of work on top of it. These are just the changes I would make on top of this, you know. So if you want to play solo, you can play solo. I think that's great. If you want to play in a group, 2 to 4 man, cool. If you want to play solo queue into group content, you can do that also. I think these are great changes, and then you can get the GVG stuff going again. I think that's an awesome option. So yeah, those are just the small changes I would make. Thank you all for reading this preview and update. We look forward to having everyone play test these changes and on the PTS and reading your feedback when it launches. All right. So overall, we're going to have to see what some of the changes are. I like the changes to the Battlegrounds. You know, like I'm going to chip in my 2 cents. You know, those are the things that I would change. I think group queues coming back is a great idea. I think that's awesome. I think they're going about it the right way. I think if you do solo queues and group queues, you can't splinter it down even further, which is a little disappointing for me because I only like deathmatch. But, you know, I think that makes sense to make the population happy. And I think, you know, if this is the route that they go, the next step that they make is, you know, making some of these game types a little bit better. So that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know what you guys think. Love to hear your comments. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.